Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night book club. So glad you're here and hoping more people jump on. But we are in that crazy spring season, I feel like, where it's going to be hit or miss. I could have been at a track meet tonight and I didn't go because I knew this was going to happen. So I knew I was going to have to leave early and it was like an hour away. And so I just stayed home tonight so I could make sure I was here on time. So, super excited about this book and I am just blown away, by the common sense of it, but how John Maxwell is so good at writing this stuff out and making it very plain, telling stories. He's so good at telling stories. I think that's why I love him so much is he's talked to a lot of people in his lifetime and he's got a lot of wisdom that he's learned from other people and he shares it here. And even though I think to all of us this is common sense, I think it's very self-reflective. And so I just am really enjoying it and it's making me think about a lot of things and about my relationship. So we're going to go over one thing I'm just going to say outright. I am not going to talk very long. I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes. I'm going to try. It's already 8:05. So, but I'm not going to go much longer because I want you guys to have time to talk. I think it's important. It's great for us leaders to go over the chapter and to kind of tie things together a little bit and review. Um, but I really want you guys to have time to talk, and I really want everyone here to feel the freedom to talk and share. Like I love when people, we have a lot of friends here that, have gotten really good and are brave, whether you're sweating or not, you're speaking up every week. But I really want to encourage you guys to everybody share. And if you're reading these chapters, there is so much in here that can be shared, and we can repeat stuff too. If something hit you and you heard somebody else say it, then repeat it. That's okay. But I just think it's really important for us to speak up and to share with the group. So we're all friends here, right? We may not all know each other that well, but we're all friends here and we have respectful conversation. And I want to make sure that you guys all feel like you can share. Okay. All right. Gonna just go over this. Starting off, and I don't want to go chapter by chapter really, but what the biggest thing that I feel like my biggest takeaway that I'm seeing here is a lot of it is being self-reflective and looking at yourself and how do I approach relationships. Okay. And, so like the hammer principle, never use a hammer to swat a fly off someone's head. Are you going into your conversations on a daily basis with a softness, with a velvet glove, or with a hammer? And I just thought that was so powerful because I think we, and I don't want to blame it on the world today because it's all the time, but I think we have to be really careful to not jump to conclusions and to listen. That's really kind of what I've got out of this one is we need to be really good listeners and we need to give people the benefit of the doubt. I loved on page 38 where he says, when someone is sharing his point of view with me, I try to listen, ask questions, listen again, ask more questions, listen some more, and then respond. It's not about going after someone. It's about listening. And how much do we have to do that in what we do here? Like, it's so easy for us to just throw out solutions, give people like the answers. And sometimes that's the quick way, right? Like, we just want to help people. We know what we have can help people, but really, people just want to be listened to. They want you to take the time to hear them and hear their story. And that's how you build bridges. That's how you fill the gap for people. So you really want to make sure that you take the time to listen and not jump too quickly to giving responses. And this is in conversation, this is in arguments. I mean, I loved his story about him and his wife. That was pretty that was pretty powerful what he shared there, right? Again, he's such a good storyteller, but I love how transparent he is about this is how I treated my marriage. And she had to sit me down and let me know, okay, this isn't really fair how you're treating our relationship. You're not really listening to me or letting me speak. And I think we do that all too often. But again, it's me focused, right? I'm thinking about myself and my feelings. We need to think about the other people too. Okay. So coming in with softness, rather than being harsh. And there's a lot more in there. Again, a lot, but we can all share with that. And then of course, if you're doing those things, you guys, and you're coming in with softness, then my hope would be that we're here to add value, right? That's the whole thing here is we're adding value to people. If you're being sharp with people and thinking about me and what am I going to get out of this, or I don't have time to listen to this, I'm just going to come to the solution, we're going to be selfish. We're not adding value to people. We're really taking it away. So that's what he talks about. And again, this is something he talks about all the time, lifting people up and adding value rather than taking away. And the biggest chunk of that chapter, what I felt was so powerful was, are you a lifter or a leaner? Are you lifting others or are you leaning more? So powerful to think about that. And like he says this all the time, like by default, if you're not purposefully, people who are lifters are purposeful about it. They do it intentionally, right? They're always, and it's because they're thinking about others. It's really easy for us because we're sinners to think about ourselves. But what you really have to do is stop and look at all the situations. You have to look at everything that's going on around you. Like if you're in a discussion with somebody, like, are you looking at both sides of things? And are you looking to help people? And if you're not looking at helping the situation, helping the person, then by default, you're going to be subtracting, you're going to be taking away. So again, something that's super powerful. It's powerful in us, like in our business with not only our customers, but also the people that we're leading on our teams. Really, really powerful thoughts to really be coming at when we are talking with people in all those circumstances. Okay. And then connecting with other people. We kind of wrapped up that section over there with those two chapters. But then we're getting into this next section about connecting with people. And oh my goodness, so good. Again, all wrapped around with putting other people first. It's all about thinking of others first. The maturity that it takes to do that, having the right perspective, and just it's not about me. It is not about me. And how many times when we are doing this business, like putting it in Plexus business terms, do we say, like, if we're not sharing this openly with people, we're making it about us. That fear of telling people it's about us. We need to make it about them. Right? We don't want to worry about what their response is. We want to make it about them. And we don't want to worry about the sale. So, I mean, yeah, in the end, we are trying to sell something, right? But we sell it out of the fact that we know people need this. So that's why I really feel like what we have here is it's about other people. Okay. If we start making it about us, about making it about the sale all the time, I need the numbers, I need all these people to happen. And yes, it's good to have goals and it's important to know where we're at for our goals. But it has to be a balance about making it about them. And if we're always thinking about that, then this isn't hard because people truly do need this. But again, it's having the right perspective. It's thinking outside of ourselves, not being selfish about the things that we say and do, and having maturity about that. Okay, so that was just a little bit, and I don't think I kept it to quite 5 minutes, but your turn, everybody. I'd love for you to start sharing your takeaways.
I felt like as I read those 3 sections, a lot of the same things kept coming up, like being others focused. And it really hit me on page 58 when he was talking about when you stop worrying about so much about yourself and start looking at others, what they desire, you'll build a bridge to other people and you become the kind of person that others want to be around. And these are the keys to connecting. And it just struck me that that is so much more than just being a good connector and being a selfless person, but that's our biblical calling. So
Mhm.
everything that he has talked about in what we've read so far, that is what Christ calls us to
Mhm.
for everything. And so he's just so right on in what we're doing and what we're reading here, because that's where God wants us to be anyway.
Mhm. Amen. It seems so simple, right? Like, but it's so important to be reminded of it. Thank you, Michelle. It was so good.
I really liked from the hammer principle specifically. Um, I could have underlined like all of these sections. You're absolutely right. It goes into like every single part of not just our businesses, but our personal life. But I loved the story of him and his wife, and it brought me back to the beginning of my own marriage and um how I'm not the same person as I was back then. And then even since Plexus, I've been with Plexus for 5 years, and how I hope I'm not the same person I was even 5 years ago.
Mm.
And when he specifically said I was putting winning the arguments ahead of winning the relationship, it reminded me of times that Calvin and I have struggled with, uh, sorry, like extended family relationships, and not necessarily in our own marriage, but extended family, and trying to navigate that and like how to speak gently or fix a problem with from a distance or navigating all of that. But while we were going through that, it started affecting our marriage, and not just because we weren't actually disagreeing. We actually both felt the same way with these exterior things happening. But we weren't listening to each other. And so it actually spurred the conversation. And this was like 3.5, 4 years ago now, one of our other book clubs that like started that conversation between he and I. And it was probably another John Maxwell book, but it brought it back to the surface today when I was reading this. And when we were disagreeing about these things happening, we realized that we were both hurt in the situation, and we didn't know how to put it into words. And so when we both like stopped and just listened to each other, we were both feeling the same thing. And when he said that, instead of winning the relationship, something that came out of all of that was the quote, peace over justice.
Mm.
And that 100% turned our marriage around. And it just has like stuck with us even today and improved things so much that going into it with the attitude of like, this is not about me. I want to hear what the other person is saying, and just making sure it's peace over like getting my own way or getting my own opinion heard and things. So I just loved that. And then on the next page in that hammer principle, he quotes Dorothy Novell, actually. The real art of conversation is not only to say the right thing in the right place, but to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. How many times in a conversation are we like, but? So it made me really think in my personal life. And I'm so grateful for these books and this time that have actually like changed me as a person. And I can't even wait for in 5 years to see how much of a difference it makes.
Thank you, Kaylee. Such great wisdom you shared there.
I also loved part of the hammer principle part, where he's the part that's called trade in your hammer for a velvet glove.
Mhm.
I was actually kind of surprised that he said, he's observed this hammer kind of attitude most among high achievers, because you kind of, or at least I kind of think of high achieving sort of people as they seem to know what to do in every situation. And so I was really surprised by that. But I guess if you think about it, they are the type that really go for it. And so, like he said, they go at everything full bore. And if a hammer is the only tool you have, then you tend to see every problem as a nail. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the tips that he gave to avoid that, about let the past stay in the past, how important is that? We can't be bringing up old wounds again and making them fresh. We have to constantly be willing to let bygones be bygones, sort of thing. And especially where he says, ask yourself, is my reaction part of the problem? Wow. That's definitely important. And that takes a certain level of maturity to do that. So when we are tempted to get really upset about something and overreact, that sort of thing, we really need to catch ourselves in the moment, I think, and take a step back and say, okay, why am I reacting this way? Is there a hurt or something from my past that's causing me to feel this way? And just kind of analyze it a little bit and be willing to say, I'm sorry. I know, like, as a mom, especially, we can't be perfect as parents, for sure. And we need to be a good example to our kids. And this applies to our business too. If we make a mistake, with the customer or something, we have to be willing to say, I'm really sorry, I didn't realize, or whatever, and admit to the mistakes, because things are going to be much better that way as far as their trust in us and things like that. And just one more little thing. I just loved where he said, never let the situation mean more than the relationship. And so again, I think that's the sort of thing where you have to be able to take a step back and see the bigger picture a little bit. And then you can realize better how you need to react in the moment, I think.
Yep. So good.
I feel that this book is a big old relationship building, but oh, I forgot the word I was going to say. Therapy session. There we go.
I felt the same way.
And it's like in the elevator principle, where it says people can be the wind beneath our wings or the anchor to our boat. So we can either be adding to people or being a subtractor. So I think, a lot of this, when we start building relationships, just, adding value to others, and yeah, just being a positive, it doesn't do anybody good to make negative comments, unless the people can take constructive criticism, there's a time for that as well, but just trying to be, more of an adder than a subtractor, I guess.
I think going along with that, something that just really stuck out to me was when he was talking about I think it was the manager for the Timberwolves, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and how he would always go up to players that had maybe missed a big shot or, something, or and it cost them the game or something, and offer them encouragement, like, oh, we'll get them next time, and stuff. And when he was asked, like, oh, why do you do that? And he talked about how, like, when somebody does something good, so many people are lining up to congratulate them or, you know, offer that type of encouragement and stuff. But you need it the most when, maybe you're a little bit down, and like recognizing that. And I feel like being on the receiving end of that in different situations, like that's just so encouraging, like so uplifting. So I don't know, that part stuck out to me.
That was so good. I love that too, Caitlin.
I'm gonna stay in the elevator principle. Sorry. When it said that the world is starving for appreciation, it is hungry for compliments, and then right before that, it had talked about the compliment club. And I thought that was really interesting, and how people were like, well, even if I don't like them, can I give them a compliment? And it's like, well, yeah, give them a compliment. And just the overall, like, how it made everybody's kind of viewpoint change, and how they're like, oh man, I actually really like that person. Or and I think it kind of reminded me a little bit of prayer, like when you don't like someone or you're really struggling through something, when you're like, okay, I just need to pray for that person, and then it kind of seems to just melt things away. So like looking for those positives instead of like focusing on like a negative thing that you don't like about the person. So I thought that was really good. And then with the first part, that the world is starving for appreciation, like it's not that hard to find something that we can compliment someone on. So just taking those couple extra seconds to go out of our way to mention it to them is always it's a good reminder.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up that class assignment. That was like, I literally just did a squiggly line down that whole page. Just this whole page. It's really good. I mean, think about like, that's like advice to give your kids at school. Think about how, you know, if somebody says something, this a kid is being bullied, or even, for us, if you're being bullied by someone or someone's really unkind, if you kill them with kindness and just are kind back, they really can't have, they don't have any excuse to treat you that way, And so, we really do need to flip it around for people. That was so good, Rochelle. I love it. And there is always something, you know?
I liked the quote on page 54, where it talks about this life is not a dress rehearsal. And that just grabbed me, because so much time has been wasted in my life because I've put things off. And it just says, I expect to pass through this world at once. Any good therefore I can do, or any kindness that I show to my fellow creature, let it be done now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. People who lift others don't wait until tomorrow or some other better day to help somebody. They act now. And I think that we as believers know that we're not promised tomorrow, and anything that we can do to lift somebody, to add somebody, to help somebody, that needs to be done now, not when we feel confident, not when we think that we have to learn something. I mean, so much of what has held me back is that I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know enough about that to, to share. I don't know enough about that to be good at it, but I don't have tomorrow. And so therefore I need to act today. And it says that everybody's capable of being a person that can lift somebody up. They just have to make the choice to do so. And that is where I'm at. I'm like, for a year and a half, I sat on my laurels thinking this wasn't me. I wasn't a salesperson. I couldn't share. I didn't know enough about this. That wasn't what I needed to do. And I think of all that time that was wasted and the people that were waiting. And I may never pass them again. I may never get that chance. I'm trying to figure out who those people are that I might have neglected, but I may never get the chance to talk to the person that God puts in my path today again. So that's
Oh.
all I had.
That's powerful, Gina. And as you say that, I think about what we're called to do with our faith too. Like we're like Michelle said, like you're saying, like why wait? Say the thing now. Why wait to give the compliment? Why wait to share the good news? Why wait to share Jesus? Why wait to share Plexus? Like just do it and don't fear. Don't worry about the fear of how you're going to feel. You never know who needs to hear what you have to say right now in whatever situation. It's just, can I tell you guys a story a second? I'm going to quick tell you a story. I did a team call for Lori Bradford on Monday night. And about 15 minutes before that call, I had a message request, like you get from a stranger, somebody you're not friends with, and on Facebook. And sorry, just wondering if my son's gonna be at school or not. um, anyways, I got this message from a person, and I was like, huh, who is this? And just before that, I noticed that this person had followed my account. It was a woman, and she liked a bunch of my stuff. Boom, 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 boom. I had all these notifications. I'm like, who's this? Is this spam? And I looked her up quick and went, oh, okay, she shares Plexus, because right away she had some Plexus stuff. I'm like, oh, she's probably on some team, whatever. And so literally moments later, I go and I find this message in Messenger, and I look it up, and it's this woman. And she sends in this message, she had, oh, you guys, I should look it up, but it was basically like, God is so good, and God is amazing, or God is so good, exclamation points. And she had a picture of us in Nashville. And right away, the second I saw this picture, it was me and her, and Kevin was behind us photobombing. And I immediately went, I met her in a checkout lane in Nashville, in the down by the Emerald or the Jewel hospitality area in the big whatever center. And she put this picture in here. I'm like, I remember who this is. Her voice message, 3 minutes long. She said, I've been looking for you since last summer. I'm going to start to cry. And she said the kindest things. She said, you talked to me, and then I found out you were at Diamond. And she said, the stuff you said to me to encourage me was so uplifting. And you didn't know this, but I was not sure if I was going to keep sharing Plexus. I wasn't sure if I should be there. I wasn't sure if I belonged and if I fit in or all this stuff. And she said, your kindness has kept me going, and I've been looking for you since last June. And I was like, what? And I just started crying, and then I messaged her back, and she's like, I found you. I've been looking for you, and all this. It was the sweetest thing. And I didn't even remember it until I saw her picture. And I don't even remember what we talked about. I have no idea. Anyways, you guys, it's just something I said just to talk to this complete stranger. She was very friendly. I remember she was really chatty, and she wanted to take a selfie and all that. She didn't know me. I'm like, you really won't know who I am. Like, I'm kind of a simple diamond. Like, I don't train. I just, whatever. And but it was the sweetest thing ever. So you never know who you're going to see, and meet that you could impact. And, it really can make a difference. Your words can make a difference. So I just thought that fit. And I should put I'll post about it because it was the sweetest thing. So anyway, she saw that I was going to do this call. So she's somewhere on Lori's team. I don't know where she saw it, but she's in there and she's working her way. She's a gold now and she's working her way up. And so anyway, she saw it. She was like, I found you as soon as she saw my picture. So it's pretty cool what your words can do.
That is so cool. And it ties in actually to something that I was going to talk about too, which is on page 53, it talked about the power of our words and how we need to use that power wisely because we don't know what we are going to come across in that day, and how it can affect that person, whether it's family, like it talks about, usually it's closest, the people closest to us, our spouse, our kids, our family. But yeah, like in Chris's situation, it was a complete stranger, and all these months later, like that few moments of talking made such a difference. Like, else she may not have even, like, she may not even be in the business anymore otherwise. So I just think it's important that we realize that it is a power and that we have to do that wisely. And I think we also have to be very intentional about it sometimes. I think I talked about that in there too. Otherwise, I feel like sometimes you mean well, you think about it, but life is busy. We're all busy in different ways. And sometimes it's just a matter of doing it. And you have to be intentional about it and take the time to do it. I know looking back, there's plenty of things where it's like, oh yeah, it's like there's regrets of thought about it, I never did, and now it's too late. So I guess my thing for this year, I've just been trying to be much more intentional. Like if I think about it, I'm like, okay, like I need to try to make that work. Like do the action. We can't just think about it. We have to do the action. Yes, seize the opportunity. Love that. So anyways, I just thought that tied in well also with what Chris said.
Thank you, Carlene.
I think it's important too that you always focus on not reacting, but always responding. And that has been so valuable in my life with my kids, my life with my students, with anybody, that I really stopped to say, whatever just happened, I'm not going to react. I'm going to take a second so that I can respond, because I know that even the smallest words given in a reaction can have great effect negatively regarded, with who you're dealing with. So my goal is to always respond instead of react.
That's so good. Where did he bring that up? Tone. That your tone. Guys, I can't find it. It's probably in the hammer section. Yeah. 39. But that's awesome. Respond. Not react.
I'm going to jump back in real quick about that too. That was another thing that caught me, just because I had a situation last fall where it kind of plays into that. Like it was more of like a reaction out of me, and it didn't even have to do with what was brought up, but it brought on such a sense of like overwhelm. Like it was one more thing that it brought out the reaction. And then when I was able to step back later, it's like, no, I can't do that. That piece of it is not the problem. It was just everything else in life going on. And then it felt like one more thing. And then everything together brought on the reaction versus the correct response. So yeah, Michelle, that was really good.
Yeah, that whole section too, that just the whole reaction versus response thing really stands out to me. It's something I've just seen played out over and over in our family, whether it's been in my marriage or with my kids. And one thing I'm learning just aligns so with what we said at the bottom of page 41, where he says, and it's that question, is my reaction part of the problem? And he says, when a person's response is greater than the issue, the response is about something else. So I was kind of thinking when a person's reaction, is greater than the the issue, you know, like when you're engaging with someone and like, whoa, you get this like huge reaction like that you either receive the message wrong or that seems way bigger than what's really going on at hand here. So I'm getting better at this, but just learning to be like, okay, like what really is at the root of that? You know, like what message did they receive? And sometimes they'll even ask that question, like, I'm just curious, like, what message did you just receive from me right now? You know, because I feel like maybe you know, I didn't deliver it correctly, or, you know, especially with my kids, I've learned a lot of times it's anxiety at play when they like really blow up about something which seems really small. A lot of times it's, you know, there's some type of anxiety at the root level. So I just love that. It's because it's something that I've been working really hard on just personally at home, you know, to make sure that I'm responding in a loving way when I feel like someone seems to be blowing something way out of proportion instead of just reacting back.
That is such an important observation, and to be really conscious of that. You know, don't you feel like so far this whole book, like not just these 3 chapters, but the last 3, isn't it just making you reflect? I mean, you're forced to. If you're not, then I don't think you're reading it. Like you just really have to look at the book and you do need to read it. Now, I do think he does actually talk about that. Like in the end of that hammer section on page 43 at the top, it says, yeah, or where is it? As you've read this chapter, a friend or colleague may have come to mind, and you may be thinking, I know somebody who needs this. Before you try to take the hammer out of his hand, stop for a moment. The first thing you ought to do is to look at yourself. And I think that's just so important. And um, that personal responsibility, always check yourself. You know, what's my intention? What's my reaction? How am I going to respond to this? This is really great reflective stuff. And it's 8:41 here, 9:41. Look how fast that goes. This is so good. I thought like, you know, how many post ideas that just came from these 3 chapters? I'm like, ooh, I'm posting that. Oh, I'm posting that. Just really to make people think. It's some powerful stuff. And again, looking at the discussion questions at the end were really, really good too. Really good. There's a few that I starred that if it was complete dead silence, I was going to probably read some of those, but it wasn't. You guys all talked. So many people shared. I love it. All right. Any other thoughts that you're just burning inside of you that you're like sweating? If you're sweating profusely right now, that means you need to share, just so you know. That's how it works. And if not, that's okay too. We can wrap it up. All right. I think that's a long enough silence. It's okay. All right. You guys, seriously, so just love going through books with you all. And I love that so many of you shared tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's keep doing that. Okay. I hope you guys have a great night. And it's Friday tomorrow. Yay. Weekend is here. All right. Love you, friends. Have a great night. See ya.